Hello and welcome to Beyond the Blue Line, episode 7. I do apologise for the delay in the episode. Unfortunately, a couple of us were on IR and we won't go into any more of that. This week's show will be joined by Alessio Luciani and we're going to look ahead to the penultimate weekend of the season and then that big playoff run, and hopefully that sees us end up with a trophy. So, welcome our first guest, Alessio Luciani. Alessio, how are you, mate?
I'm good. It's nice to see you guys, and I'm glad to be here.
It's good to see you too, Luch. We were just joking that we tried to do this throughout last summer, didn't quite get like the schedules lined up, and then all of a sudden it's April basically, and we're already finally getting around to this. So no, I'm sorry for the delay, and it's good to have you on. I was going to ask you if we'd have got this done in, I don't know, July, for example, how much you're looking forward to working with Kevin again, but I guess I have to reframe that a little and ask, what's it been like working with Kevin again this year?
No, it's been great. I think we picked up right from where we left off back in college, which was five years ago or 4 years ago when he was my assistant coach. And no, I think we picked up, like I just said, we picked up right where we left off, and it's been great. He's a guy that I look up to, and kind of he helps me and develop my game and lets me do what I got to do and do what I can do, what I do best. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun this year.
In that 4 or 5 years between you being together at Adrian and you being together at Coventry, how much has he changed, and how much has his approach to coaching changed?
Honestly, not. I haven't seen much of a change. I mean, back when he was my coach in college 5 years ago, he was very much what he is now. He's very detail oriented. He's goofy. He's fun, and he just brings a good level of excitement to the game of hockey. And I think he honestly hasn't changed in those 5 years. It's really funny, actually.
His partnership with Zach seems to be really good too, and I kind of feel like they balance each other out a lot. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously, I think Kevin has a history with Zach as well, where he coached him for a little bit. I think they crossed paths somewhere. But yeah, no, I think they do a really good job, and yeah, they complement each other very well.
Being year 2, and obviously last year was your first year as a pro, what do you think the differences are from year 1 to year 2 for yourself in terms of how you've prepared for the season, how you've kind of approached as the season's kind of gone on? Has there been much change, or have you just kind of done your thing?
From a standpoint of kind of like training and doing that stuff, honestly, like no, nothing's changed. I think I've kind of kept the same kind of regimen within the last couple of years, from just seeing the success that I've had and I've been able to have. I think it's just more of having that being comfortable in a spot, and then obviously having a coach that you're very familiar with. But I try not to change too much. I kind of found something that works for me, and I stick to it, and I just continue to do what I do, and just keep my foot on the gas, I guess, and see how things go. And they seem to be going well, and just keep with that. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's working. I mean, you're having a heck of a year, and you've just come off the back of a 6-game goal streak, which is a pretty impressive run. I mean, you must have felt like everything you touched turned to gold in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of a stretch where things weren't going the way I wished. But I mean, that's the sport we play, and not everything's going to go your way at all the times, and you just kind of have to stick with it. And eventually you get one that kind of goes off of you when you're not really looking, or you just happen to be there and it goes off of you, and it can kind of turn the tide a little bit, and just kind of ride that as best as you can. And obviously things didn't go my way the last game, but we came out with the win, and really that's all that matters. And we're just kind of looking to contribute as much as I can to kind of help this team win games, and hopefully put us in the best possible position in playoffs, and then continue to roll with that.
I think more on that a little bit later, because I just wanted to pick your brains about your current line mates. I mean, you played with Nick for most of the year, I think, Luch, correct me if I'm wrong. And I mean, he's been so explosive this year, coming into his first year pro. I mean, you know what that's like. It's a whole different kettle of fish. He's been so impressive, hasn't he? And he must be so much fun to play with.
Yeah, no, Nick is Sights. He's awesome. He's a hard worker. He's everything you kind of ask for out of a guy just coming straight out of college and trying to get their feet wet in pro hockey. He's been, I think him and I have kind of built this little bit of chemistry together, and it's been fun to play with him, and I'm sure it's been fun for a lot of people to watch that and kind of see that chemistry grow as the year went on. But no, he's great. He works extremely hard. He's very quiet, but he's got some. He's a very funny guy too, when you kind of get to know him a little more. But I've loved playing with him, and it's easy. I think him and I complement each other very well. We're both very, I would say, we're on the quicker side, like to kind of play with pace, and no, I think we find each other very well.
He's got this really powerful type of speed as well, doesn't he? I mean, people think I'm crazy when I talk about this on the live streams there, but I keep saying, like, you're both fast, clearly, as you've just said, but you both sort of got different styles of fast, if that makes sense, or have I just been eating too many blue M&Ms before I started the show?
No, I'd agree with that. I think his first 3 steps are some of the fastest 3 steps I've ever seen out of a teammate of mine, or even just anyone I've played with. He's just so fast, and it's definitely, I know Aldi and I kind of say it here and there. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with him. He's just so far ahead of us. But clearly he's doing something right, because he's having a hell of a year. So it's been fun to watch him grow as a player.
And then moving on to Aldi, because he's having a heck of a year as well. I mean, he was kind of similar to you in a way. Last year at Cardiff, he was mainly leaned on for goals. I think you were a little too here in Coventry, but this year he's kind of split between the goals and the assists quite nicely. He's gone on a heck of an assist run. But is it just me, or is the danger that he has when he shoots the puck something that defense sort of have to respect, and therefore it creates opportunities for you and Nick? That's sort of the impression I'm getting. I don't know whether I'm, again, the old blue M&Ms there.
Yeah, no, I think you can watch it and you see teams, like, especially on the power plays, like they kind of just hold a guy out and standing in front of Aldi just to kind of limit him from taking his one-timer. I mean, we've all seen it, how hard his shot is and how accurate of a shot he has. But yeah, no, he definitely opens the ice up a lot. But I think what a lot of people don't recognize is, like, how smart he is on the ice. He always just seems to be in the right place. Obviously, he's a very tall, big boy too. So, like, he's got that reach, and he's so good at breaking up plays with his stick. And he's definitely got the vision to make plays. Obviously, he's played it in multiple different teams and different levels. But there's a reason why he's been able to do that. It's because I think he thinks the game very well, and there's never really times where he's out of place. He's very good, and I think he's also been a big reason to the team's success this year.
And low-key, I really like it when he plays nasty, when he's throwing the body around, banging bodies. There's just something about when he does that just lights everybody else up.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you're that big, I feel like sometimes you gotta have to get a rustle from some feathers, and obviously maybe playing with a guy like me, or not the biggest stature, but he definitely, no, it's fun to watch him. I think playing with him last year, I kind of, obviously not playing with him, but playing against him, I think he's taken a big step in his production, and I think it just goes to how he plays a whole 200-foot game. It's no, he's definitely a really fun line mate that I've had the privilege of playing with this year.
It brings me on to my next point, actually, because you, Nick, and Brandon, whether you've been on the same unit or not, have had a lot of success on the power play. I think Nick and Brandon right now both leading the league in goals at 10, in power play goals, I should say. And power play for the Blaze the last few years has either been red hot or kind of fumbling around a little bit. What is it that Kevin and Zach have got you guys doing this year that's made it so successful? Because the power play has been consistently one of the best in the league this year.
Yeah, I think just continuously working on it, and then allowing us to kind of giving us kind of the playbook to make plays and just talk amongst each other to let our creative juices flow. And it's been working. Obviously, there's times where he needs to maybe step in and kind of tame us just a little bit. But I think for the most part, we've done a really good job at just being able to make plays amongst ourselves and then kind of talk about what we want and what each of us prefer. And no, it's worked well so far. So hopefully we can keep that going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Something would have to have gone really wrong somewhere if our power play starts to sputter, because like it's just been so consistent you can rely on it. If you get 4 a night, you're getting a goal, for example. But similarly, like, how does it work with the PK then? Because the PK has been really great, but typically that's probably an area where you want to be more structured. Whereas, like you just said, on the power play, Kevin's quite happy for the guys to play a little bit more free. So what's Kevin and Zach's approach to PK?
I would say they've done a really good job at that too. We've kind of practiced it and made a lot of changes when we've needed to. But I think it's just continuously, like, even though it has been good, it's still like making sure that we can get better at it. And there's always improvements that can be made. And no, I think they've done a really good job at kind of going back into video and seeing what things we could do better so that we can make it even more challenging for other teams.
And I think that the buy-in of the guys is evident, particularly on the PK, when you look at guys like Mike Kennedy, for example. Like, Mikey's gone so underrated this year, I think, by everybody, but he leads the team in blocks. And, again, like, not like yourself, he's not a giant guy, but he's more than happy to throw his weight around. He's more than happy to throw himself in the shooting lanes. Just that he epitomizes that buy-in that you need to be successful.
Yeah, I think you literally have just said everything that needs to be said about Mikey. He's one of those guys that you want on your team. He's a player that will do the little things that maybe other guys don't want to do, and he does the things that go unrecognized. But obviously, it's recognized within the locker room of us because we're privileged to have a guy like that and what he means to this team. He's a great person off the ice as well. A little bit of a jokester, and but he's a great guy. I actually sit beside him in the locker room, so I got to know him a lot this year. And no, he's been great, and the rest of our D have kind of bought into that same kind of mentality as well. And I think a lot of the forwards, I think majority of the forwards, maybe not all of us really, have all kind of bought into that same mentality of that's what it's going to take to kind of win games, and especially down the stretch here, that's what it's going to take to win, to bring home a trophy. But obviously, we can't really look ahead into that right now. We just kind of have to focus on one game at a time. It's kind of what my mentality has been, and I think that's the mentality the coaches are kind of harping on us. But no, back to Mikey. He's been great, and obviously, just like Sightsy, it's been fun to watch him grow as a first year pro as well.
You mentioned something there about the locker room and how tight it's been this year, and something that's perhaps not atypical this year. We haven't really recruited. Years gone by, you can bank on a guy coming in at the deadline. You can bank on a guy, maybe two, coming in around Christmas when it gets kind of hectic. But the only addition we've made this year has been Brady Pateau. And he looked like he got it from day one. And it must have been a real breath of fresh air for him to come into this team.
Yeah, he stepped in and he's done what's been asked. I think like he's been great. He's been another guy that's bought into that mentality that goes unnoticed. Like he's just willing to put his body on the line to kind of make that play that maybe gives us that extra momentum to kind of push us to get a goal or anything along those lines. But he came in and he kind of understood the kind of the mentality and the motto that we had within this year, and he's adjusted very well, and he's been a great addition to this team.
Me and Scott were talking about this because we punched our playoff ticket, I think last week, maybe even the week before. And I was saying, I'm going to go on the road to Cardiff with the guys next week. And Scott's like, why? Come on, we can save ourselves for the playoffs, this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, no, because this time of year is actually really important because we might end up with Cardiff in the next round. It probably looks like we're going to end up with Cardiff in the next round. So being able to put something in their minds mentally that we're going to bring it every night and stay in those good habits is so important, isn't it, this time of year?
Yeah, I think we just want to. I think our goal is to kind of continue to build those habits and continue the trajectory of going up. We don't want to take any steps back. We don't want to kind of stay at a flat line. Like, we want to continue to grow. I mean, yeah, the season might be coming to an end soon here with a month left, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue to raise the bar. And who knows what this team is capable of? Who knows? Maybe we haven't even hit our peak yet, right? That's the question mark that we want to answer. And I think that's the exciting part, is to continue to grow and then push that ceiling further and further up.
It really is. And the other thing as well is that the matchup against Cardiff has been pretty interesting this year, hasn't it? Because we've had some wins, we've had some losses. What's your thoughts on playing them in the next round if that's how it ends up being?
Yeah, I think to me it really doesn't matter who we get. I think that's a pretty stereotypical answer you'll get from any of the guys if you asked us. But I guess if you look at the stats against them this year, I think it probably goes about 50-50 with the wins-loss. But no, if we play Cardiff, I know they're a big rival team. They get a good attendance in their building. It's a fun place to play. I know if they come to us, they're going to bring all their fans, and it usually gets a little rowdy, and it'll just make the environment and the atmosphere a lot fun. And those are the kind of games you want to play in. You want to play in the games that are a little hectic in the crowd, and that's all noise, but we hear it, and it's fun to be a part of. It makes for a really good game.
No, I agree. I want to ask you one that's a little bit more out of left field, because I think we've positioned that nicely to go into the playoffs, because fundamentally, hockey is changing so much at the minute. If you look at this year, you had the Four Nations tournament in, I guess, in the NHL, if you like, with the Swedes, the Finns, the Canadians, and the Americans. But with all the rule changes in the CHL and the NCAA eligibility, there's so much going on. Hockey's a really exciting community to be a part of right now, isn't it? What's your take on all the comings and goings of late?
I think they've been great. Obviously, that Four Nations was a treat to watch. The All-Star game is usually hit or miss, and for the most part, it's a miss. But to watch some of the best players compete against each other at the national level is incredible. And just watching those games and how fast they were and how exciting they were and how the countries kind of got behind each team it's fun to watch. And then when you look at the eligibility things, that's kind of completely shifted how college hockey will look, especially next year. And I think it's just they're all good changes that were inevitable. They were going to happen eventually. And I think it's good for the game, and it just shows that the game's continuing to grow, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to be really interested to see what the fallout's going to be in terms of elite league recruitment as well, whether there is or there isn't, because we've got a bit of a mix. I know Kevin's leaned on collegiate guys a lot, like yourself, but then you got guys like Aldi, Brady that played in the CHL. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see too, I think.
Yeah, it is different, and I guess we won't know until maybe next year or even a couple of years after. But from the looks of it, it looks like a lot of OHL guys are now going to play college. So it might seem like you're just going to get all college guys coming because otherwise the only guys coming from the OHL or the CHL are going to be going straight to the NHL if they just skip the whole college route. But I don't know. We'll see. It'll be exciting to see what happens.
Let's chat in 10 years about it, see where we're at, Luch.
Yeah, hopefully if the schedules can mash up.
Absolutely. Go on, Scott. I've been chatting away for ages. I don't know if you want to talk to Luch about anything.
I think the mindset of fans, especially fans of other teams that looked at our roster, that it's going to change when they say the guys coming straight out of college. So that is a good thing to see. The playoffs, we got to talk about it. There's 8 teams going to be gunning for it. Only one can win. That's sport. What is it about this team that you think would put us as potential winners? What is it you see in this team that we can do to beat the other teams that we're going to go against?
I think it's the relentlessness. I just don't think there's any quit in any of the guys. It doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter who we play. It's just everyone kind of bonding together to do a part to win a hockey game. Obviously, you got the big fish and the small fish in this league. It's written on the walls. It's been there for years, but with this group, we've hung around those teams, right? We've beaten those teams, and we know what we're capable of, and it's us against them mentality. So it doesn't matter who we play against or who they're throwing out on the ice. Like, we know we match up well against anyone, and we're not afraid to kind of continue to do what we do.
And playing the way we play the games, I mean, the 3-3 the other week it's tough, especially for the team, the way we play. And that probably told in the results we got. But how do you find playing in the Sky Dome and then going to a bigger sheet of ice? Because watching us, I think we're a bit more expansive and enjoyable to watch. Do you see a difference when you're on those different ice sizes?
Not so much. I mean, I think the only difference between like those rinks and our rink is really like the boards. Like, they're just pushed out a little wider, right? So if you can contain the game within the dots, it's all the same. It's all relevant, and I think that's kind of what we try to do. Obviously, when you got the bigger ice, you can kind of maybe get thinking of maybe, I have more time, so I can kind of make this play over that play. Maybe that's kind of what you get in your head a little bit, but I think we do a pretty good job of just adjusting and playing the way we want to play. I think we've actually done a really good job playing on the road and playing on bigger ices. I thought we've adjusted really well to that.
And we'll lay off grilling you about Coventry. We'll just talk about the league this year. It's been an exciting league this year. The only nailed on spot is 4th with Cardiff. Who do you see going on to take the title this year? And who do you see getting the last spot?
I think honestly, Belfast will take the title. I thought playing them this year, they were maybe the most complete team. Most challenging to kind of play against. I don't know if that's just kind of going up to Belfast too, but I think just the way they play, that I've been saying it for a bit here. I thought that they were the best team we went up against, and I thought they were they might push through here. I think they got another game against Fife too. Not saying that writing off Fife or anything. I think they've kind of pushed Belfast to the limit a little bit this year. So I would say Belfast would be my guess to win the regular season. And then what do we got? Dundee or Manchester?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That Manchester rink is it's so hard to play in. So maybe they can squeeze out some points. But I think they've got a Belfast in there too. So I think I'm going to give it to Dundee. I think Dundee's just got a more of a skilled offensive team, which I think push comes to shove, I think they'll maybe put the puck in the back of the net a little more than a Manchester. Maybe help them secure that last and final spot.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. Just the playoff format that we have, it is unique. I know Coach is saying we're not allowed to think about it other than the next game, but are the boys excited for the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think it's hard not to think about it. Playoffs it's a fun time. It's a new season, as we all say. So everyone's stat sheets get wiped down to 0. The team start at 0, and it's just and then this game it's a coin flip. It can go either way because it's a 1-1 game. It can aggregate score, so it can go either way, and it's fun to be a part of those games. I have the privilege to kind of be in those one game deciding kind of playoff formats, and I've been on the right end of them, and I've been on the wrong end of them, and I can tell you when you're on the right end of it, it's a lot of fun, and winning trophies is a lot of fun, or winning a trophy is a lot of fun, and I know we've got a lot of college guys that kind of have been in that same situation, and I'm sure we'll be ready for it.
Well, I'm a numbers man. It's 20 years since we won the Grand Slam. It's 10 years since we last won the playoffs. So I think it's the writing's on the wall for that one.
Yeah.
Ed, have you got anything else?
No, I'm great. It's been good to catch up, Alessio, man. I really appreciate it, and it was nice to meet your dad a few weeks ago in Nottingham too. So when you speak to him, please pass on my best.
Yeah, he'll definitely be watching this when it comes up on the Coventry Blaze website, and I know when he was here, he was looking forward to seeing you guys, and I'm glad he was able to see you and chat for a bit. He mentioned to me that he saw you too, so no, it was all good, and it's been great. And again, I'm glad we were able to finally figure out a time. It only took 6 months, but better now than never, I guess.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah,
See you
awesome.
soon.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Big thanks to Luciani there. I mentioned that the discussion we had about. I was thinking, do we give Cardiff too much next week when we go and play them? And you're like, no, we need to set the tone and make good habits. And listening to Alessio there and listening to Kevin all season, we're not going to change, are we? We're just going to go gung ho.
It doesn't make any sense. Like the league's too professional. It's too good. It's not. Maybe in the BNL days, you could rein it in for a weekend at the end of the year, and you can run a bunch of kids, and maybe run the backup with all the respect in the world to Will and Alfie's come in as well. He's done a really good job backing us up, and some great experience for him. But you just can't do that anymore. Every game matters, whether you can go up a place in the standings or not, and yeah. You get bit in the backside too easily if you take your eyes off the prize of this game. Like you can switch off for 5 minutes and lose a hockey game. Switching off the weekend doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it's just little bits of me thinking I don't want to give Cardiff anything, but I get where you're coming from. But we'll talk about last weekend. It was a big weekend because we had that 3-3, which was always going to be tough for us. The results didn't go away, and we've gone up to Dundee, and they didn't make it easy for us, did they? 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and then a big goal by Kukali to take the win. It
was one of those games where we needed that 2-goal advantage. I think we just couldn't get away from them, and it was that classic case of, okay, if you let a team hang around in a game for that long, then you can get bit, but like you say, Kooks made a really nice play to crash the net, pick up a rebound and score. And he kind of got caught on that goal, getting rushed 2-on-1. The puck was in his feet. He had a speed deficit against the two guys coming at him. So I'm sure he was really keen to make up for that too. What a way to do it. And plus it's the furthest travel that we will have this season up to Dundee, geographically it's the furthest place away. And I know the guys will be used to it by now, but it can still be hard to just shake that off and be able to be at your peak performance. So no, like you say, being able to respond from having the 3 games in a row where probably a missed opportunity. If we were able to, let's just say hypothetically, take 6 points out of that, the difference that makes to 4th place is quite a lot. But look, it is what it is. You rebound in the right way, you get 4 points, you get it done, and you hopefully get a bit of form coming down the stretch here in the last couple of weeks.
What I liked about this point of the game, not from our point of view, but we were massively putting the pressure on Dundee, and Mark took an early timeout, and it did change the momentum of the game. So I thought that was quite a clever tactic from the Dundee Stars perspective there. And I really liked seeing the old Texel Stars jerseys. It brought me back to when we were kids.
Yeah, I remember when Fife did this too, but Dundee did this where they came up with like maybe 25, 30 fans or something like that. They'd all be wearing kilts. They'd all be wearing the jersey over the top. They'd all have a few bevies in the bar. They were doing a conga line around the rink.
I remember that.
Yeah, they had guys like Scott Young who played for them. I think he played both Dundee and Fife with the hair and the mustache. I can't talk, but like he was just this larger than life character. Yeah, those games are pretty fun.
They were indeed. But the result here kind of then went on to the following night. And look, we know the situation 5-0, but we still got to do the business, and we started off very well in that game. I mean, it's an unfortunate bounce for Boris, but I don't really care.
Yeah, you take them as they come. I mean, Lord knows we've had them scored against us this year, where Robbie's gone to fish a puck from behind the net, it's bounced out from the corner, and they've had a tap in. Like, things happen in hockey. To quote Kevin, hockey can get weird sometimes. The one thing I didn't quite get about this game was after like Zach. I interviewed Zach instead, and he was really grumpy about our performance. I'm not entirely sure why. Were we world beaters on Sunday night? No, but like you said, we got the job done. We were able to put up a nice amount of offense. Maybe if it was 7-0 by the end, he'd have had a different tune. But I don't know. I just thought that was a little bit of a weird one retrospectively.
I think it is to do with at 7-0. I don't think we would have given up those 2 goals if it was normally. And I spoke to Matt's dad, and he was a bit grumpy about it. And obviously, because Matt didn't get the shutout, but I suppose it's as we said earlier. Look, we need to keep the pedal to the metal and keep going. So I'm not too bothered by Zach being a bit grumpy. I'm a bit grumpy at times, mate. So we're all for it. But it is a big result for the boys. And then realistically, I think we've got the one game this weekend. It's the Glasgow Clan. Mm-hmm. I think 2 points will, barring a massive swing, that will secure 5th place. And 5th place, I think that's a great achievement for a new coach, a new system. Everyone had us written off, and it's been an enjoyable hockey to watch. The Sky Dome's become a little bit of a fortress this year as well, and I've got no complaints.
I don't either. I mean, realistically speaking, if you are best of the rest, that's not a bad place to be at all. So yeah, and I love that everybody wrote us off at the beginning of the year. I think it was. I remember a little story. So I went to the orientation days. So there was one where we started talking about the like the social media side of things, and Kevin invited me along just to kind of say a few words and whatever, doing what I do here. And I kind of said, like, just be aware that you're all professionals. I don't probably need to teach you to suck eggs, but social media, man. Some people go off on a lamb. They say some stuff that's not really appropriate. Just don't bite, all that stuff. And then I was thinking, actually, if the guys are reading this, just idly flicking through, like, what are they saying about us? And they're seeing it's just getting dumped on from a great height. Oh, you're going to come 10th. You're going to come 10th. You're going to come 10th. Using that as fire and as motivation, particularly early on, actually worked out really well in our favor. So, from being the team that we already wrote off to playing some great hockey, like Luch said, taking wins off everybody. Apart from Nottingham, I mean, we beat Nottingham once. They seem to be our bogey team this year for whatever reason.
You always have one.
Yeah, and some of those games. I mean, we got blown out at the beginning of the year or right at the end of the year.
Yeah, twice we've been blown out, but the rest have been big 1-goal games.
Yeah. Some of those I think we deserved more than we got, but I'm thrilled with 5th. It'd have been nice to have a home ice choice, but I don't mind the matchup against Cardiff, and I think the guys are going to be rearing and ready to go.
Well, after we win the playoffs, there's also that weekend. You also talk about the All-Star teams, and there's 2 lines that potentially we could have a few players on. Stats don't lie. That's some great reading. We have the top goal scorer. We have the top assist scorer. Good viewing.
We've just been really exciting this year. I wrote about it on Fire. I wrote about it in On Fire recently. There's loads of parallels between this year and the 2019-2020 season, where we had the top goal scorer in the league that year, which was Feds, Luke Ferrara. We had the top assists guy that year, that was Yanni Larkinen. We've pretty much got that this year with Reegs and with Mike Regish, and Chase Grisock, and then we had a couple of other guys in that top 10 point scorers too. I think we had Charlie Corcoran, if you remember him, he was in there, and Andrew Johnston was as well. We're not a million miles away. I think Mike Regish is just below the top 10 right now. He might even be tied on 50. Brandon Alderson's been knocking on the door. So yeah, it's exciting. I mean, that team would have won something that year. I have absolutely no doubt. I've said it 100 times. I'll say it 100 more. So I don't see why this team can't. Because we've seen good teams in the past where defensively, Stewie's had a few of these where defensively we've been rocks, but then offensively maybe we've just lacked the ability to power out of some games. Whereas, maybe that Dundee game was a little bit of an example. We couldn't get away from them. But we were just able to just power through and come out with a win.
And then you talk about the back end, and we'll talk All-Star, Terence Amoroso, who's played 400 minutes a night for most of the season. His stats are great, and I was speaking to fans of Belfast, and they're like, he is a pain to play against.
Yeah, and the big thing about Terry is that he's so good at creating space for himself with the puck and creating space for other people. And it's like it goes down to the granular detail of him just being able to open up passing lanes with what he does, and that's really special. And defensively, he's a rock. He's solid. He uses that frame subtly. He's not a big banger and crasher like maybe Pateau is at times, but no, he's always in the right place. He doesn't really get beaten very often, and I'd love it if he was an all-star. Like, I don't really pay too much attention to like the first and second all-star teams because you're always going to have great players in the league, and it's fine. But certainly he's been an absolute stud for us. So yeah, I know Kevin's going to have started thinking about recruitment for next year already. And if Terry can be persuaded to come back for another year, then that'd be great. I think opening a Red Hot Mamas in Coventry might have something to help along there. That'd be pretty great.
Yeah, I think certain areas need to look at their rent control on putting some buildings in and that sort of thing. So we'll talk about that. I want to hear what you think about this league. The table that's not the right one. You want this one. So Belfast on 74 points. Where are you going? What's your final standings?
Like, I would really love Stewie to pip them in Nottingham, but the fact that he's been able to get that team playing so well this year, they've been great. I mean, against us, it sucked. We'd like to get a couple more points off them, but it is what it is. Like, he doesn't owe Coventry anything. As a player, as a coach, obviously he's had a testimonial year. So for him to have that little bit more firepower and to do what he has with it has been great. And I think for the organization too, considering everything that happened with them last year, that's been amazing. So it'd be really serendipitous if they were able to do it. But I think, like Luch said, Belfast this year have been really complete. They've been really solid. So I think they might just cling on in there. I think probably like Dundee just have that little bit too much breathing space to be caught by Manchester. But Manchester have been pains to play against this year. They if you look at how they built their back end, it's really suited to trying to win as many home games as possible with how that decor play. And then Dow's gonna he's probably gonna wind up somewhere nice next year because he's so sneaky, so creative.
Very good player.
Yeah. And then they've got a guy in Morrow at the back who's played nearly 200 NHL games, and I think he was playing in the KHL and the Swiss League before he came down to Manchester. So he's a stud, and he seems to like it there. So he'll probably be around a little longer. And then that's probably going to be the top and tail for me.
Yeah, I'm really looking. I think it's exciting. I mean, Friday night, Cardiff played Glasgow. If Cardiff get that result, that really puts a nail in the coffin for Glasgow to finish 7th. And then it's about us beating them on Sunday, really, to hopefully pretty much nail 5th. And I will probably do an episode before if the playoff quarterfinals, but Cardiff would be tantalising tie. I mean, the Blaze put out the videos of the Challenge Cup final 20 years ago, and gives me goosebumps. Gives me goosebumps. That is a rivalry that I've loved. It's gone a bit off the boil in recent years, but I feel like it's made its way back this season. And what a matchup if that is the case.
Yeah, I think that's probably the quarterfinal leg to watch for neutrals. I mean, you mentioned in there Glasgow a couple of times whether we're playing them or Cardiff. I think you said are playing them as well. Like they got so hot as well down the stretch. I mean, they had a week just recently where they were beating everybody. They beat us in that time. So yeah, Corey's won stuff behind the bench a few times. He's won stuff as a player. So they could be dark horses for getting something if they can keep the form up. But yeah, I mean, it's so funny that you mentioned that Challenge Cup final and then the social media guys putting out the highlights of that. Like that was one of the most crazy games I've ever seen in my life. And I think I was probably like 14 or 15, and I'd been to the old Welsh National Ice Centre a couple of times, and it was like you just don't have barns like that anymore. It was unbelievable. And then the year after, like funnily enough, like me and my dad were going to go again. And I think I had the flu. Like I was really sick. I was bummed I couldn't go. And then they won in the shootout there where Barrymore breaks a stick and Reggie Stringer slips one past Klemper and with his bleach.
Yeah, I was there. I was there with my blonde tip highlights in my hair. So
did you have blonde tips? No way.
I had blonde tips. Yeah, when I had hair. What was I? 15 at the time, so madness. But we are going to do some retro stuff before the end of the season. I was speaking to a few guys, so stay tuned for that. Ed, look forward to the weekend. Just a one game this weekend for the Coventry Blaze, and then we follow that up with Cardiff away and Sheffield at home, who could potentially be coming in to try and win a league title. You don't know. We've upset teams before, so it'd be good to see that the Skydome packed out for the remaining games.
Yeah, and it's a nice last little test, isn't it, before you go into the playoffs? Two really good teams, two teams that are, really wanting to put a stamp on getting some silver. I mean, obviously, Cardiff have won internationally this year, which was great. But clearly they'll want to, finish off the season with something domestic too.
Indeed. So that's it for this weekend's episode of Beyond the Blue Line.